opportunities and experiences and different sources of funding and resources for getting into undergraduate research. Before we get into all that, though, just a quick plug for myself. My name is Dan Giltz. I am a relatively new hire here to the biology department. I was brought on last November, so I'm going on my 1-year anniversary, actually, as the undergraduate program coordinator. The bulk of what I do consists of advising undergraduates, but I'm also involved in recruitment and retention efforts. So if there are any undergraduates in the crowd today who are still struggling to put together their schedule for the spring, my contact information is here. There's a direct link to my Google Calendar, so you can schedule an appointment with me if you do have any questions or need any assistance with your spring schedule or registration. And a reminder, I'm sure you're aware, but registration begins this Monday, November 8th for seniors, and then it'll be Tuesday for juniors, Wednesdays for sophomores. Thursday is when freshman registration opens up. So I do have some openings between now and next week. So the sooner the better as far as getting those plans in place and getting ready for your registration. That way you don't get waitlisted or end up missing any classes that are important to your degree. This PowerPoint will be available after the presentation. So if you'd like a copy of it, I can email it to you. If you just type your ISU email address into the chat box, we'll get this to you. There also will be a flyer that's being sent out with this information on it too. Additionally, this link is on the biology department's homepage, so you can find it there too. Lots of ways to get a hold of me, and I'm happy to help. So let's get right into it. Why do undergraduate research? There are a number of reasons, and these are just a few. So firstly, it gives you hands-on experience and a really good understanding of how science works. You will receive mentorship from a faculty member, usually a professor, who can guide you through the research process as well as a lot of other aspects of the undergraduate experience. And it also is a really good way to help build your resume or your CV when it comes time to get a job. And on that note, your research director becomes your advisor, and this person can provide you with guidance when you're selecting upper division courses, help you to build your professional networking by introducing you to other professionals in the field. And then they'll also have information regarding graduate programs, professional schools, and funding sources, as well as job opportunities. All of those job opportunities usually require some sort of professional reference that usually comes in a letter of recommendation or something similar. And your research director can provide those letters as well. So they are a very important resource to your future. So those are some of the most important reasons that I could think of to become involved in research as an undergraduate. The rest of this presentation, I'm not going to read, but it does contain some information about a number of sources that you'll hear about today. So you can use this for reference after today, and you'll hear more information about those specific programs here from our speakers. And so without further ado, our first guest speaker is Gabby Jablonski. She's a graduate student here in the biology department, working with Anna Grinnith. And I'll hand it over to Gabby. Stop my screen share.
Unmute myself. And sorry about that. Here we go. So can everyone hear me okay? Okay. My name is Gabby. I am doing my master's degree in biology, and more specifically, I'm studying really broadly biology education under Anna Grinnith. So I am actually going to talk a little bit about undergraduate TAing, a little bit different than research, but this was an opportunity that I had I did my bachelor's at ISU, so like a lot of you here, and I transitioned to becoming a biology major my sophomore year. My first job in the department was as an undergraduate teaching assistant, and this is a job that you can get through the CPI program, which I think some other folks are going to talk about today. So I won't spend too much time talking about that. But what I was finding throughout my undergraduate experience is that I was really interested in both biology, but also in teaching and education. And so I felt like this was a great job to start with and see where it went. And if you feel the same, and maybe you are forming study groups and you really like to teach your friends, and that's a good way of studying for you, or you've really enjoyed a certain class or excelled at a certain class, I think looking into becoming an undergraduate TA could be a really wonderful opportunity. And so a lot of times your first semester, you'll be shadowing or assisting a graduate TA in their labs. And then the second semester, if you feel ready or able to teach your own section, then you are given the opportunity, which can be really exciting. And this link down here is just where you can find more information about this. On this slide, I took a little snippet that explains what courses you can be an undergraduate TA in, and then also some more of like the logistics that you can work 5 to 10 hours per week as an undergraduate TA, which I think is really beneficial for those students with really busy schedules. It offers you some flexibility, as well as having those breaks during normal school breaks. And then these are just some pros of TAing as an undergraduate that I thought were pros for me. It does prepare you to present in front of other people, both that are going to be your peers and maybe even students that are older than you. And so I think it builds that skill set, as well as gaining teaching experience. Some of you may want to move on to grad school where you might be working as a graduate TA, or you might want to be a science educator in another setting. And so that will prepare you for that. And then it also just gets you involved in the department, meeting different faculty that may be the lab coordinators, as well as graduate students and maybe other undergraduate TAs. And I did want to also mention that I did have some experience doing research as well during my undergrad. So I'm not going to go into too much in depth into these experiences, but I worked as a CPI doing undergraduate research, as well as I was enrolled in independent problems courses. And so this is kind of just a trajectory of the research that I did. I worked with Dr. Bruce Finney for a short period of time, about a year. And I was able to work on my own independent project. And this really opened up my eyes to the world of graduate school. It kind of solidified my plans and was like, I really want to do research. So I was able to present some work at the ISU Undergraduate Research Symposium, as well as a little research roundup that the biology department did. So again, getting more experience talking about your research and interacting with other folks in the department. But one thing I did want to preface is that it's really okay to change your mind. The research that you're involved in during your undergraduate does not have to be the same research that you're involved in your master's or your PhD. And you could also change your mind during your undergraduate too, if you get into research early on. And so that kind of leads me to my last point, which was how I met my advisor, Dr. Anna Grinnith, and how I got to graduate school and where I am. So I was working and doing ecological research during my undergrad. And then I was kind of at this standstill point where I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go to graduate school, but I also knew I was really passionate about teaching and education from that experience as an undergraduate TA. And so I was introduced to Anna through the department, and I felt like it was a perfect fit from the first meeting that we had. And I quickly kind of became a part of the lab. Granted, this was right when COVID happened, but I read a few papers with the lab group, and I even got to lead a discussion as an undergraduate with that lab group, which I felt was a really great way to kind of become immersed in it. And so this was just the title from the first paper I remember reading. And it just was a really great fit because I got to do that research and go to graduate school, as well as learn more about teaching and learning. And that is actually what I do research on now. So with that, I will turn it over to the next speaker, but thank you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Okay, thanks, Gabby. That was awesome. And I guess one thing I forgot to mention is that we should have a little time for questions and answers after we hear from all our speakers. If you do have a question though, that can be answered really quickly, maybe you could put that into the chat box and we can get to it in between speakers. And so without any further ado, we're going to hear from Kate West, an undergraduate student working with Heather Ray, Dr. Heather Ray. She is going to talk to us about the IMBRE program, as well as maybe some more information about CPI and independent problems. And so, Kate, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Let me just get this presenting and share my screen real quick. Oh, I'm not enabled for screen sharing at the moment.
One sec.
In the meantime, I'm Kate West, and I work in Dr. Heather Ray's lab. I've been in her lab. I'm going on my second year right now. This is my third semester. I am a senior. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I'm a senior here at ISU, and I'm studying microbiology. Oh. Let's see. We have that now. Okay. And can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this past summer, I was one of the fellows for the IMBRE program. So IMBRE stands for Idea Network of Biomedical Research. And it's this really great experience where you have a 10-week paid summer fellowship and you just get to do full-time research. So you end up putting in 400 hours in a lab. It's pretty robust. You have to go in with a good attitude and be ready to just knock out all that time. But it is an amazing experience. And if you're not sure about grad school and if it's actually going to be a good fit for you, because you're like, I don't know if I can do research all the time for such a long period, IMBRE is like this super amazing introduction to what full-time research looks like. Or maybe you want to say, hey, do I want to work in the lab and industry as soon as I graduate? This is a really good way to know if you're a good fit, but it's also only 10 weeks long. So it's like, if it's not a great fit, you get done, you've learned from it, and it's a great experience. So every week in the IMBRE program, we had professional development meetings. So we got to talk about like, what is imposter syndrome and how do you do research and come up with hypotheses. And at the end of all these 10 weeks, it accumulates with a 3-day research conference where you get to present your own work in the form of a poster. And that is honestly one of the most important experiences of all, is learning how to accumulate your work and present and share that science. And it was honestly my favorite part of the IMBRE program. So if you're interested in doing the research in the IMBRE program, I originally learned about it as a freshman in ISU. I applied my sophomore year for the program. Unfortunately, I didn't make it in, but I tried again applying my junior year. And at that point in time, what I had done is I reached out to Dr. Ray, since I was already working in her lab, and I said, hey, would you be interested in being a mentor for the IMBRE program? And she said yes, and got everything lined up so she could be a mentor. I applied and was able to join into her lab. And it's been an amazing experience. There are so many options as far as research projects that you can join in this program. So even if one thing isn't a fit for you, the odds are that there are so many other things that will work well. So like in the biology department, you could work on bacterial capsule biogenesis in Dr. Martin's lab. Dr. Ray studies the genetic causes of developmental disorders. You can learn about the bacterial and viral diversity in environmental samples. There's also options for doing research in the pharmacy department, the psychology department, and the chemistry department through IMBRE, if one of those things is really what strikes your interest. And so I have a little link listed down at the bottom of that slide. And honestly, if you're interested in IMBRE, the best thing you can do is just search ISU INBRE Program 2022 and then look at a list of all the mentors. It'll show you all the different projects that they have going. And if you're interested, reach out. Our faculty are amazing here as far as being very kind and open and answering those questions. Now, the benefits of this program are, one, you have a very good stipend that really supports you through the summer doing your research. It's competitive pay compared to what you could be if you're, I don't know, normally work construction during the summer or something. You get to develop a really large network of friends and faculty, both here at ISU and at all the other schools across Idaho that also participate in INBRE. And that full-time research experience is pretty much invaluable anywhere you go, whether you're applying for a job, for graduate school, or medical programs. This is just like primo stuff for as far as applications go. So I highly recommend INBRE. It's an amazing program. And if you have any questions about it, you can always feel free to ask myself or any of the faculty members here in the biology department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kate. That was great. Let's see our next speaker. And if I could just remind everybody to please mute yourselves. We had a little hiccup there at the beginning of that, but I think we're all good now. That'd be great. Our next speaker is Trey Harris. I'm not exactly sure who Trey's working with, but he's going to talk to us about a few different programs. So I'll just turn it over to Trey. Here you go.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm having some connectivity issues, so I will be faceless today, but let me get my screen shared. So hello everybody. My name is Trey Harris. I am a senior at Idaho State University that's working with Dr. Catherine Turner currently. And I'd like to discuss a little bit about my research as an undergraduate. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about why I chose to participate in undergraduate research. And so for me, I really wanted to gain insights into what conducting research was really like. Is it something that I wanted to continue on into graduate school and into a future career? Also, I wanted to gain additional lab and field experience that I would be able to place on a CV or resume. And I've had the pleasure of participating in many different forms of research and employment at ISU during my undergraduate career, which you can see in a brief little timeline to the right. However, I'd like to highlight a couple of the more recent experiences that I've had. So in spring of 2021, I saw an advertisement in one of my biology courses for a summer REU position in Dr. Turner's lab. Right when I read it, I was incredibly excited and decided to email Dr. Turner expressing my interest. I included a CV and a resume, and I was granted the position. And so I had the great opportunity of proposing, conducting, and presenting independent research at many different symposiums and conferences. My project specifically was looking at the estimation of age and above ground biomass in sagebrush, which was a lot of fun. And then that REU position transitioned into a lab position due to some extra funding. So kind of like a CPI position. And this allows me to actively participate in the research that's being conducted in Dr. Turner's lab, as well as the opportunity to continue my research that I started during the summer. And so there are many, many benefits that I have gained from participating in undergraduate research, especially when it comes to my REU and lab positions. And so for me, it really affirmed my interest in pursuing research as a future career goal. I gained many new skills that may have not been as easily obtained through regular coursework. These skills and experiences will hopefully really boost my graduate school application. Also, I really found a community in the biology department at ISU, which was one of the more unexpected results. It was great to make new friends and to create many new connections. And lastly, it was really just an overall fun and enriching experience. And I strongly urge any undergraduate that is interested in participating in research to look for these opportunities. You will not regret it. I know that I definitely did not. And that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Trey. That was great. You really touched on some important stuff there. And, just the importance of looking into the opportunities when you hear about them. Sometimes the best way to find these things is just to actually go and knock on doors and be persistent. And again, if you have any questions, we'll hold those till the end. Our next speaker will be Olivia Swainston. She's also in Dr. Turner's lab. Looks like she'll be talking to us about the VIP program. And it's all yours, Olivia.
Perfect. Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Olivia, and I will be speaking on VIP, also known as the Mentor Research Alliance. And basically what VIP is, it's a course that you can take through ISU for actual credit. And it provides you to get involved in research without actually having previous research experience. So if you are an undergrad, especially, this could be a great opportunity for you to kind of dip your foot into the pool of research without having to make this huge commitment to a professor to stay with them for years and years. So how did I hear about it and how did I apply? So basically, I was actually just scrolling through my degree works, looking at the upper division electives that I actually qualified for, since I was only a freshman at the time and I hadn't taken many courses, so I didn't qualify for much. And I stumbled upon a class labeled Amoeba, which is actually a VIP course and will also be held next semester for those of you who are interested. And I saw that it only required me to have taken Bio 1 and to get permission from the instructor. And I saw Dr. Turner and I saw her email. I sent her an email talking about my interest and asked her what the course was about. And she explained how it's an amazing research opportunity. And she noticed that I was a pre-med student and talked about the importance of getting that research experience, especially, for applying to medical schools and everything. So just doing that, reaching out to her, she let me into her lab, and yeah, that's how I got involved. I didn't need to necessarily fill out an application because, again, this is a course held through ISU. So it's a very easy transition into the class. So what's my experience like now? I am currently in my second semester working in this particular VIP, and it has been absolutely amazing. I love it, even though it's what our VIP is centered around is the germination plasticity within big sagebrush in North America. That is not something that I knew a lot about before joining the VIP, but that's the amazing part about this class is you gain such a huge knowledge about the question that you're trying to answer, and it's really great experience. A very interesting part about VIP is that you have to answer a question, but no one knows the answer to it, not even the professor. So all of you, including undergrad students, graduate students, and the professor, are all working to create an experiment to answer that question. So you're all on the same level, and you get to do field research and data collection, and that's what we were primarily doing in our first semester. And right now we are actually working to draft a paper to publish. And that is a pretty big deal, especially like, for example, if you're pre-med or applying for graduate school, having a paper with your name on it is a very good resume builder and a great experience to learn about how to analyze scientific literature, which is what I've learned a lot about this semester. So how it's benefited my undergrad, it has actually led me to further research opportunities. Dr. Turner has been an amazing mentor for me. She's connected me with so many other different people within the biology department, and she's offered me multiple other CPI positions and research positions, and I owe her a lot for that. So you make a lot of different connections when taking this course. It has taught me the basics and provided a great foundation of research and data review, and also the analysis of scientific literature, which I have used all of those skills very heavily in my other science classes, which has kind of given me a leg up in those classes, I like to think. So I'm definitely a lot more confident in my research ability now than I was a couple semesters ago. And it also provides you with really dedicated mentors and peers. Like I was saying before, Dr. Turner has been an amazing mentor for me, but also within the class, you're working with graduate students possibly. And those graduate students have been amazing. They also have really helped me kind of go from a baby in research to learning a lot more about it and being a lot more confident in my ability to review data and make assumptions about it, and also just make friends, because during COVID, which is when I started, I did not have many friends at ISU since there weren't many opportunities to do so, but now I have a really good community to spend time with. So if you are an undergrad or a graduate student and you don't have much research experience yet, but you want to get involved, please consider VIP. It's an amazing stepping stone to other research opportunities and can provide you a lot of good information in research and how to go into research for a career path possibly. So go VIP.
Awesome. Thank you, Olivia. You really touched on some good points there, especially about the networking possibilities that can come from research, and just how improving your own scientific literacy can really increase your confidence in other areas too. So thanks a lot. Up next, we've got Anna Jirik. She is working with Dr. Develina Pradhan. She's going to talk to us about a few different programs and touch on the independent problems classes that are available here in the department. So here you go, Anna.
All right, can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So I'm Anna. I'm currently doing independent problems, which is basically research for credit, and I'm in Develina Pradhan's lab. So a little bit about me. I'm in my second year at ISU right now, and my future goals are to go to grad school, and after that have some type of career in research. So undergraduate research is really beneficial for me for getting prepared for that. I'm also a member of the University Honors Program and pursuing an honors degree, which really helps support you in your path to doing research as an undergrad. Actually, my first semester here at ISU, I learned about the INRI program and I decided to apply, and I didn't get in because it was my first semester. I didn't have that many connections. So the professors that wrote me letters of rec didn't know me super well. But I actually just submitted my application for this next year, and I'm hoping now, since I have a lot more experience and those better connections, that I'll have a much better chance of getting in. So I'm really hoping I'll get into that. So the way I joined Develina's lab is I was actually going through my weekly honors updates that they send, and there it was, Develina was talking about her lab and how she was looking for a research assistant. And so I decided to email her, and this was, I believe, during Christmas break. And I just emailed her, said, hey, I'm interested. And she gave me like a little questionnaire to fill out. And then we ended up having a Zoom meeting. And then I ended up joining the lab in January. In the beginning, I just started out doing pretty simple things like parafilming test tubes or writing labels for test tubes, things like that. Pretty like simple things, but it was a really good introduction to the whole lab environment and to see what other students, grad students and undergrads in the lab were doing. And then, so I was helping out Alex Wooding with he's a grad student with his program, which was looking at red band trout. And I actually, after being in the lab for a few months, started to get my own little mini project out of his project, which was looking at glucose versus cortisol in those red band trout. And that was a really good introduction to research for me because it wasn't a complete independent project, but it was kind of me working on my own, having my own little part of that, which was really cool. We actually ended up going in the field, and I got to see the process of how he collects samples. And that was really awesome because in the past, I always thought that just the lab work was what I enjoyed, which I think for me, that still is my favorite thing. But I also learned about like the fieldwork aspect to it, which I guess never really considered in the past. And of course, with that data we collected, we had to do data analysis. And then with those findings, I ended up presenting at the Society of Behavioral Neuroendocrinology 2021 International Conference, which was online in the summer. And it was a good introduction to conferences for me because it was online. So it kind of took away some of that stress of it being your first conference. And it was really cool just to have that presenting experience and also be able to see what so many other undergraduates and graduates all over the country and even other parts of the world are doing. Right here's a picture of me and Devalina at the Hanson Life Sciences Retreat in Logan, Utah. That was a good experience. It was a really one of the smaller conferences I've been to, but it was honestly more intimate and it was easier to make connections that way. And right now I'm doing a few more analyses on my glucose and cortisol data, and I'm going to present that at the Society of Integrative and Comparative Biology in Phoenix, Arizona in January. So I'm excited for that. That's a picture of me out in the lab doing electrofishing to get data for Alex's research. And this is from a time when I went to Hagerman and we did DNA sequencing of those samples. So that was really cool. So what I'm doing right now is I'm working on a new project, which is looking at sex change in these blue-banded gobies. And I'm going to be getting data for that to present at SBN 2022. And my future goals are networking so that I can find a possible program to PhD after getting my undergrad and applying for NSF grants to help fund that graduate program. Thank you so much, and good luck to all of you on your future in research. Here's my email if you guys just have any questions for me or want advice really about anything. And thank you so much for listening.
Okay, Anna, thank you very much. That was really awesome and informative. It sounds like you've had a lot of really cool experiences already as an undergrad, so I'm sure your future is bright. And you brought us right to the perfect moment in time for our next speaker, who is Jeremy Brooks. He's working with Dr. Colden Baxter in the Stream Ecology Lab. He's a PhD candidate here at ISU, and we'll hear what he has to say now.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you all for participating in this. This is a really cool event here. Let me just share my screen. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about my own journey to graduate school. As Dan mentioned, My name is Jeremy Brooks. I'm a doctoral student studying with Dr. Colden Baxter, and I study stream riparian food webs and more broadly ecology. But today I really want to focus on sort of the takeaways that I've gotten and sort of the what I see as one of the biggest, one of the most important reasons for why I got into grad school and why I decided to pursue grad school. And that was that the experiences and the connections that I developed all the way back to when I was a high school student and through undergraduate really built upon one another and were what led to my next experiences. And so this is a theme that I really want to focus on here. And so when I was, and tell you the story a little bit about it. So when I was a high school student back in Montana, I started out as sort of a teacher naturalist. So I was helping out with after school summer programs, teaching young children about the outdoors. That turned into summer programs and more of a full-time job in my first year of an undergraduate student. And I decided to continue pursuing that sort of teaching and naturalist through an experience, a couple of years of experience in Alaska, where I was, giving tours and talking about wildlife to a variety of different audiences. And this was right around the sophomore year of my undergraduate degree, and I started to realize that while I had always enjoyed teaching and giving presentations and being in the outdoors and talking about wildlife, that what I really wanted to do was try out research. And because I had already gathered these experiences both in the outdoors and teaching in different environments and just having experience of something, I was able to get into a research position with Montana State University studying stream fishes out in eastern Montana. And this was a really important experience for me because I got to work right alongside a graduate student who was out working, doing their master's thesis out in eastern Montana. And so I got to see what it was like, both in the field and in the lab, to be a graduate student and experience all the hardships and the uncertainties that they went through, because it turns out graduate students don't have it all figured out either. And this is a common thread all throughout your academic career, whether you go on to grad school or not, but the people around you don't necessarily have it all figured out. And this was a really important experience for me. And so accumulating these different experiences ultimately led to me running my own undergraduate research project, which facilitated even further experiences and connections. And so I was studying stream invertebrates up in the Beartooth wilderness area up north of Yellowstone National Park. And the lab that I ended up working with for Dr. Lisa Eby was a really, really important experience for me because I got to work alongside graduate students in the lab and sort of get into their social network. And it was through that experience that I met my future advisor, Dr. Colden Baxter. It was because I was working alongside graduate students that I got invited to come to a seminar and a graduate student lunch in which Dr. Colden Baxter came and gave a presentation on his research. And so that was sort of the first time that I got to meet with him and talk about my own research experience and what I was doing. And then the following summer, the work that I did in Montana State University led to an additional job working with a graduate student in Iceland, studying stream ecology there. And it just so happened that the doctoral student, Kate Henderson, was working for Professor Wyatt Cross at Montana State University, who is a close collaborator with my advisor, Dr. Colden Baxter. And so these accumulation of both undergraduate research experiences, even though I didn't plan them out, at first I was teaching preschoolers about birds in the Yellowstone River floodplain. And these experiences ultimately accumulated to me meeting and interacting with a professor who I shared a lot of research interest with, even though I hadn't planned it out. And so my biggest piece of advice to anyone who's looking to go through an undergraduate or graduate degree is to start to accumulate these experiences, regardless of a master plan that you have at the end, because you never really know what connections, whether they be people or types of research questions that are going to connect you to your future advisor or employer. And I just want to leave you with one last thing, that as a graduate student, these accumulations of experiences helped me decide that pursuing a PhD, which is a long-term commitment, was right for me. And what they really did was help me sort of combat this feeling of imposter syndrome, which is the feeling that I'm sure all of you have experienced in some way, that you're surrounded by brilliant people who seem to have it all figured out, that have a ton of experience in your field and seem to always have the answer in their head, whether they be faculty members or graduate students or even peer undergraduate students who, for whatever reason, seem to be really doing a lot better than you. And I'm here to tell you that the accumulation of experience that those people have had is what's driving that feeling that they're succeeding, or that they're the experts. It's not that that they were, back when they were an undergraduate, a really superior student that knew it all. It's that they're continuously building upon and accumulating their experiences. If you think about it, your professors in many cases have decades more experience than you, and so that it helps explain why they feel like why they know so much and why they have so much experience in your field. And so as a graduate student, for me, it's been most important to be surrounded by my peers and understand that they are also feeling this imposter syndrome, and that it's not that it's not that any of us are less experienced or less capable of doing a graduate degree or doing an undergraduate research project, but it's that we're all on our own pathway of accumulating experiences and expertise that are ultimately going to lead us to where we are and where we want to go. And so my sort of parting word here is that the best thing you can do as an undergraduate student is to begin accumulating experiences, whether they be research, whether they be summertime jobs or internships or volunteer projects, so that you can connect with new people and accumulate new experiences that are ultimately going to help you get the next experience and accumulate those over time. So that is all I have for you today. I think I'm right about on time here. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. My contact information, I think, is either in the poster or we can send it out afterwards. But thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy. That was really nice to hear your perspective on things. And I think I agree wholeheartedly that it's all about just looking for those opportunities and building the experiences. And you never know where it's going to take you. But thanks a lot for that perspective. And that ends us exactly where we wanted to be. We know everybody has things to do, but we do have some time for questions if anybody has any.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, and this is, I'm sorry, I can't tell who this is, but go ahead.
Yeah, so how do we get these research program? Like, how do you join? Because I've been trying to look for them, but I haven't gotten any since my freshman year.
We're going to send out a flyer with links to all the information about all the programs that we've talked about today. And if there are any instructors that you have that you are interested in the subjects that they teach, or the area, the field or discipline of biology that they are involved in, you can always go and see them in their office hours and see what opportunities might be there or what opportunities they might know of. The best way to really get the ball rolling is just to be proactive and go knocking on doors. Anybody want to add anything to that?
No, Dan, I think you got that great.
Okay.
Well, I do want to add in one thing. Like, I highly recommend, yes, you could knock on doors physically, but you need a little bit of preparation might help you. Go look up the website. A biology department has all the professors listed along with their blurbs of research interest, and reach out to professors individually. You don't have to have everything figured out to reach out to professors. You just need to communicate to them that you're interested in research, and whether it's going to be with them, like sometimes they'll have options open, sometimes they can help you find options. So you can reach out to almost anybody in the department who can help bridge that if you need help to find a position.
And I would add to that, you know, when you do reach out to somebody, like make sure that you have looked at their website and what kind of research they do, and hopefully that's something that sparks some kind of interest for you. And so you can say, this is, you know, I think it's so interesting what you're doing. You know, flattery always goes a long way. And suggest that you could like come in and have a meeting and talk, but being really clear when you first reach out, you know, make sure it's not just a, you know, kind of one sentence email that's like, I'm interested in research, like, can I do it? But like, you know, I see that you do this kind of research, and, you know, this is what I want to do with my life. And, you know, maybe it's not an exact fit, or maybe it's a great fit. But this is what I kind of like want to do. And this is what I would want to gain from the experience. And so the more that you can be, make it clear that you're being really thoughtful and intentional about why you're reaching out to do research, I think that can be helpful to getting like a positive response. But I also know that like all of us are going to probably reach back out to you and kind of like engage in a dialogue to think about what makes the most sense. And some of us, I usually, if I have funded positions, post them on my website. And we're in the process of creating a centralized place to find resources for opportunities as well for the department.
I would also emphasize from a graduate student perspective that talking with a graduate student who's TAing your class, or that you might share a class with, if it's cross-listed, or that you meet through participating in one of our many clubs, the Microbiology Club or the American Fisheries Society, that graduate students are almost always looking for help. We need a lot of it through working in the lab, and a lot of us are also looking for opportunities to work with undergraduate students, just because we're also interested in getting that mentoring experience. And so if for whatever reason you feel that there's a barrier, or you're nervous about reaching out to your professor, a graduate student is sort of a nice intermediary that is a little bit less scary, I hope, and is also often has a sort of a closer idea of what specifically you might be able to work with them, for example. And so I would highly encourage you to connect with and interact with graduate students, because they are also a really great pathway to finding out about research experiences.
Yeah, I think that does cover the question pretty well there. And Anna has actually posted the link to our department YouTube channel, where you can find more information about how to get involved. Any other questions?
I have a really quick question.
Okay.
So to take the Amoeba course, what steps need to be taken? Is it just signing up for it? Do you need to also do some reaching out to professors?
So I'll quickly jump in here. So yes, you do need permission from the instructor. So what they'll have to do, I believe they need your Bengal ID to do that, and to kind of override the system so that you can sign up for it. So preferably reach out to them before registration starts, figure out whether you're taking their class or not. And then if they accept you in, then they'll ask for your Bengal ID, and they'll set that up for you so you can actually register for the course. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, that did. Thank you.
I would just go ahead and point out right now that as far as the VIP and the Amoeba course goes, you could reach out directly to Dr. Catherine Turner in terms of sagebrush research, which Olivia described earlier, and also to Dr. Ernest Keeley, and he does work with fish. So those are the two that we have on the books at the moment, but I think that there are hopefully plans to try and create more of these opportunities in the future.
Thank you. Any other questions? We do have a few minutes until I'll have to depart, but.
I just dropped a link. This is not a question, but alert to everyone. I just dropped a link in the chat of all the National Science Foundation research experiences for undergraduate sites. So we heard a lot today about experiences on campus, but there are lots of experiences if you are able to kind of not be in Pocatello over the summer. The REUs exist all over the country. These were programs, I did 2 of these as an undergraduate, and they were super, super valuable. I got a first authored paper out of one of them, which was basically my ticket to grad school. And so that link has a list of all the places where they have RU sites. And so you can kind of look for different kind of research topics. Some of the sites are more competitive than others to get into, but they all provide a decent stipend, as well as a lot of them, the ones that I did, both provided either a housing allowance or an actual housing, as well as a stipend for kind of any living expenses. And some of them are basically, you have no living expenses and that stipend goes straight into your bank account, which is quite nice. And they're just really great. They're great opportunities. It's usually a small group of students, like 10 to 12 students, and you're in a cohort. And so there's lots of opportunities. Like I still bump into students that I was in or people that I was an REU student with at like conferences and stuff. And it's always so fun to catch up with them and see what they're doing. So it's a good opportunity to make some lifelong connections with people, and the quality of the research is just always really good. Yeah, and the deadlines are usually in the late fall semester. And then it's again like a 10-week program in the summer, but they are super awesome. And it's a great way to also just kind of like be in a different place. If you're an ecologist, it's good to kind of experience different locations.
Or not an ecologist, there are programs, REU programs are really broad, and you have, being associated with one of them looks great on your CV. You've gone somewhere outside of Idaho to add that in often. Of course, Trey had an opportunity here, but not counting that, going outside of Idaho and then meeting additional researchers elsewhere in these, you could be doing one at Cornell, at these big Ivy League schools that you may not have thought that you could get into. You might be able to experience what that campus is like. So, yeah.
And I just want to make one more comment about every Thursday almost. We have a little meet and greet in the lobby of the biology building at 3:30. So that is a great time to come and talk with graduate students, faculty, other undergraduates. So please do join us, typically on Thursdays at 3:30.
And feel free to stay for the seminar afterwards from 4 to 5.
And that includes today. We've got Ken Aho giving his sabbatical presentation.
I just want to thank all of our speakers today and our MC. You guys did a fantastic job. This was a terrific event. So thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who attended. And I think, Dan, if you have any concluding remarks.
I did not come that prepared, but I would like to thank everybody. I think this went really well. And feel free, if there's any, I guess there are students left in the audience. If you need help with your registration or have questions about prerequisites or courses, get a hold of me. I'll be happy to help. I can also help make connections into these research labs if you're having any difficulty there. So thanks everybody for coming, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All right, I have the chat saved and I've got the recording.
Thanks, Kristen and Dan. This was really good. Appreciate all your hard work behind this. I've noted down, I don't know if anybody else has, but I have tried to take attendance as best I could. Okay. So yeah.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
well,
thanks.
Maybe next time we can do it in person.
Yeah, that would be
Cross
great.
your fingers.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.